Hi and welcome back everyone. Now what we want to do now is to create 4 charts for our middle of our dashboard here. And I also want to have 2 buttons at the top which allows us to view either the sales or the net profit for each chart. So what I'll do first is create a net profit calculated field so that we have the option. Now to do that, again, we'll just create a new measure at the top. And for net profit, we know our calculation is just the sum of the sales value minus the sum of the cost of sales. So let's just first name our measure net profit. And then we'll start writing our calculation. So it's going to be the sum of the sales value. Just remember to close our bracket minus the sum of the cost of sales. And then we can close our bracket. Okay, and then once we tick that, net profit's going to show up here on the right hand side. Now we want to just test this out to make sure it looks okay. So what we can do, I would like to just copy one of our charts that we created in the previous video, and then we can bring it into the middle just to keep the formatting. And then we can make it a bit bigger. And let's just change the sum of sales value to be sum of net profit. Okay, now the trend's again the exact same, but the values are smaller, which is what we expect because it is net profit. Now what we want to do is just change, like before, our net profit to be a currency. And then whenever we go back, it will show them as dollars on the y-axis. Okay, so we'll just leave this chart as it is for now. It's not what we're going to be showing, but I want to insert 2 pills, which is going to show one for sales and one for net profit. And we'll need to set them up so that once they're clicked, the charts that we have here will show either the sales or the net profit depending on what we click. Okay, so to do that, at the top we can again insert, but this time we'll insert a button, and we'll just insert a blank button. So for me it's just showing up on the left hand side here, and it's quite actually hard to see. But if we click into it here, let's just change the color first so that we can see it. So under our style, under button, we can turn fill to on. Yeah, we'll leave it like this for now. So you can see it's a rectangle shape, which you can keep as if you prefer, but I'm going to change mine to be a pill so that it's more round. And then we can insert some text here. So under style text, we can turn it on, and let's just write sales. And we'll make it our white 10% darker color. And then first I'll just make this pill slightly bigger. Yeah, we'll go like this. And then we'll want to change our fill color as well. And we're going to want it to match our theme colors, which I know is 196266, but if you want to click into the chart, you can always check this under the format visual and then lines and colors. So I'll go with the darker USA one that I've given, and just Control and C this, and then paste it into our fill color. Well, it's actually showing up here in recent colors, so you don't even have to check it. We'll need to make our transparency 0 though. And if you want to leave the border, you can, but I'm going to remove it by just unticking border. Okay, and then let's just make a copy of this, Control and C, Control and V, and just bring another one beside it. And in the text of the second one, we can just change it to show net profit. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to enter new data to set each of these metrics up, and we're going to want to give them a number ID. So for example, 1 will be sales and 2 will be net profit. So what we can do to enter our own data is under the home page, we can just click on enter data. And now we can just create our own table based on what we enter. So all we're going to want to do, we'll name the first column to be number ID. And we'll just name the first row 1. And then we'll add a second row and it'll be number 2. And we'll add a second column and we'll just call it control. So number 1 is going to be sales and number 2 will be net profit. And then if we load this in, just take a wee second, it's going to show up below our data source, our classic models data source. And then you're going to see the 2 fields that we've just created, one named control and one named number ID. Now what we're going to want to do is add a measure to our table that we've just created, which will show the values depending on what is selected. So if number 1 is selected, we want it to show sales, and if number 2 is selected, we want it to show net profit. To do that, we'll just enter a new measure. So if we go home, new measure, and then at the top, we'll call this measure selected metric. And for our calculation, we'll use the switch operator. So it's going to be switch, and then we can open our brackets. I'm just going to shift and enter to go to a new line. And then we can use selected value. And then it's going to tell us the column name and then the alternate result. So the column name will be number ID. And whenever we select 1, we need to close our brackets here first, sorry. And then enter a comma. And whenever we select 1, we want it to display the sum of the sales value. And then we can close our brackets. And then I'll just shift and enter again. Enter a comma. And then whenever we select 2, we'll just have to enter another comma. We want to show the sum of the sales value. Close brackets minus the sum of the cost of sales for our net profit. And then we just need to close brackets again so that it maps to the first bracket. And then shift and enter again, and for our final, it's just going to display what is the default value. So for our default value, we'll just show the sum of the sales value. And then close our brackets. And then we'll just need to finally add in our last closing parentheses. And then we'll just commit to this, and then it will add our selected metric measure just below our number ID in our table that we've just created. Okay, so in the next video, we will create a chart which shows product line, and then we will set up these buttons to display the metric for our first chart depending on what we've selected. So I'll see you in the next video.